believe that when we have delivered weapons to Ukraine, it's actually not ours anymore, it's Ukrainians. And as I've said, they have the right to self-defense. And the right of self-defense includes also hitting legitimate military targets outside Ukraine and also in Russia, which are, air bases which Russia uses to attack.
This is my video update on this Monday afternoon, May the 27th. Let's talk about some news. So how about Stoltenberg, the NATO chief, using some Annalena 360 logic? When Germany gives Leopard tanks to Ukraine, those Leopard tanks stop becoming German Leopards and they become Ukrainian Leopard tanks. That is what Annalena Baerbock said a year and a half ago, and now we have Stoltenberg saying the same thing. When NATO weapons are used to hit military targets deep inside of Russia with NATO's permission, Russia cannot say that NATO is a party to this war because those weapons become Ukrainian weapons. They are no longer NATO weapons hitting Russian territory. They are Ukrainian weapons hitting Russian territory. I imagine that this also means the targeting and surveillance and even the soldiers operating and firing these weapons. I imagine that they all become Ukrainian, right? Is that how this works, Stoltenberg? Anyway, that is NATO's way of hitting Russian targets inside of Russia while still being able to say that they are not a party to this war. NATO wants to attack Russia, but they want to say that they are not a party to this war. Interesting logic there from Stoltenberg. So Meloni of Italy, she's very upset with Stoltenberg. Meloni believes that this escalation of NATO weapons being used to hit deep inside of Russia, along with NATO's permission to use those weapons to hit Russian territory, Meloni believes that this is a step too far. This is too much of an escalation for the Prime Minister of Italy, and she would like Stoltenberg to tone things down. And the Deputy Prime Minister of Italy, Matteo Salvini, he is actually saying that Stoltenberg needs to resign. Recant, apologize, or resign. That is what Salvini is saying. I don't want to leave my children in the Third World War at the gates. Stoltenberg should either recant or apologize or resign. So Italy is giving some significant pushback to the idea of using NATO weapons to hit targets inside of Russia. So the neocons, they are very happy with the plan to use weapons to hit Russian territory. The neocons are very, very happy with this idea, which I believe has received the green light from the Biden White House many months ago. And I think all of this is just theater. I believe the Biden White House has given it's okay to use ATACMS and Storm Shadow and Scalp missiles to hit Russian territory. But we're now going through a bit of theatrics here in order to get all of us who are watching this escalation in horror in order to get all of us accustomed to the idea that NATO and the collective West will be attacking Russia proper, pre-2014 Russia. Anyway, the neocons, they're very excited about all of this. Brian Berletic of the New Atlas, he did a great video talking about an article, I believe was it on the neocon publication Foreign Affairs, I believe, is where this article ran. It had the title something along the lines of, "It's not too late for a victory in Ukraine," or something like that. And basically the article was talking about how the collective West and NATO, they need to hit Russia hard. They need to use whatever weapons they can to strike deep inside of Russia, give those weapons to Ukraine, help Ukraine to hit deep inside of Russia, because they can still win. By hitting deep inside of Russia, they can still get to some sort of a Russian capitulation, some sort of Putin backing down, or of a regime change in Russia, but they have to hit Russian territory really hard. It's not too late for Ukraine to win this thing if they can just get the support from the collective West and the weapons from the collective West and the targeting and surveillance from the collective West to hit deep inside of Russia, then they can pull off the victory. And we have another neocon publication, Foreign Policy, not to be confused with Foreign Affairs. Foreign Policy, they put out an article a couple of days ago with the title, "Biden's Catch-22 in Ukraine. Washington's backing for Kiev and avoidance of risk are increasingly at odds." And basically this article is a two-part article. It's in two parts. The first half of this article talks about all of the setbacks in Ukraine and how Ukraine is in a very difficult position now because of Biden's inability to get the weapons that Ukraine needs, because of Biden's hesitancy to escalate with Russia, and it has left Ukraine in a very perilous position. But the second half of the article says that it's not too late. If Biden can just shake off this hesitancy, if he can just get past his fears and his doubts about escalating with Russia, then the collective West can absolutely give Ukraine the weapons and missiles, ATACMS, and everything else that it needs to launch a full-scale attack against Russia. And this full-scale attack against Russia will lead to the Putin regime surrendering. That is basically what Foreign Policy is saying. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that Foreign Policy is pretty much advocating for a full-scale attack against Russia using the collective West's weapons and other military capabilities. So the neocons, they're excited about the escalation. More escalation, please, more escalation, more escalation. That is what the neocons are calling for. And that brings me to Elensky, an update on the actor that is now the illegitimate leader of Ukraine, Volodymyr Elensky. Sky News, they put out an article with the title, "Ukraine War. Elensky is relying on his TV charisma, but photo op no longer has currency it once had in US." So I'm going to read you the first two paragraphs of this article, and then I'll read you a bit more from this article because it is pretty incredible what Sky News is reporting. But let me start off with the first two paragraphs, and I believe you are going to get a kick out of what Sky News is saying here in this expose of Elensky, the actor comedian with TV charisma that seems to no longer be working. Here is what Sky News is saying. If the war in Ukraine was fought in the media alone, the Russians would have been repelled months or even years ago. While the Kremlin funds debate shows with far-right nationalists spouting historical theories from the 19th century, the Ukrainians fight their corner with slickly produced content highlighting every aspect of their defense. Sky News basically admitting that Russia is fighting a real war while Ukraine is fighting an info war. Wow, what an admission from Sky News. Further on down in this article, Sky News says that Mr. Elensky uses one weapon his country does not face a shortage of, his TV-honed charisma, to make the pitch. I am appealing to the leaders of the world who are still undecided on the Global Peace Summit, to President Biden, the leader of the United States, and President Xi, the leader of China. We do not want the UN Charter to be burned down just like these books, said Mr. Elensky, gesturing toward the floor. The Swiss organized Peace Summit is scheduled for the 15th and 16th of June near Lucerne. So that is the video that Elensky put out. That is what Sky News is talking about in this article when they say that Ukraine comes out with very, very slick video productions to make the case for more money, more weapons, or to convince Biden and Xi Jinping to attend the Swiss Peace Summit, for which, by the way, the Chinese Foreign Ministry has said that Xi Jinping will only participate in a peace conference recognized by both Moscow and Kiev. That's a bit of an aside. Anyway, that is the video that Elensky put out. Sky News is saying that Elensky's TV charisma no longer works because Xi Jinping obviously is not going to attend. And Biden has also signaled that he will not be attending the Swiss Peace Summit. He will be going instead to a campaign rally or something like that taking place in California. So Elensky's charm is fading. His charm is fading. His TV charisma is fading. Sky News says Mr. Biden's non-appearance also tells us that a photo op with Mr. Zelensky no longer has the currency that it once had in the U.S. A fiery presidential campaign has made assistance to Ukraine a key battleground issue, and the White House may be tailoring a Zelensky-free spiel. Zelensky-free. Politico put out an article about a month ago, and I talked about it, where they were saying that the Biden White House is trying to distance itself from Project Ukraine, trying to dump it on the Europeans, trying to give the Europeans the lead in managing Project Ukraine, and they want Biden to distance himself from Project Ukraine. No more talking about Project Ukraine because it is a very unpopular issue in the United States, and they want some distance between Biden and Elensky. And here you have Sky News pretty much saying the same thing. Yeah, Biden doesn't want to take any photos with Elensky. No photos with Elensky because no one wants to take a photo with the losing side, right? No one wants to be associated with the loser. That's just how life works. So that's Sky News talking about Elensky's charm. And let's now do an update actually on this Swiss peace summit, because it looks like, according to Bloomberg, that the European Union, they are trying to organize a second peace summit to take place in the fall following the Swiss peace summit that is going to be taking place in June, because the European Union, they have recognized that the Swiss peace summit is falling apart. It is crumbling, and they are now trying to get Saudi Arabia on board to host another Ukraine peace summit slated for the fall. And according to Bloomberg, in this peace summit in the fall, Russia will be invited. That is according to reports from Bloomberg. The EU already acknowledging that the Switzerland peace summit has fallen apart. Anyway, what else? I know there's another story that I'm forgetting. Okay. An update on Georgia. And real quick, the NGO foreign agents law, it's passed. It is now law. The Georgian Parliament Committee, they bypassed the president's veto from a week ago, and the foreign agents law is now law. So congratulations, Georgia. Congratulations, Georgia Dream. It was not an easy road to get this law passed, but you did it. You made it. And my message to Georgia and to Georgia Dream, it's not over. The collective West will not stop. They are going to continue to go after you, Georgia Dream. They are going to continue to push for regime change and some sort of a color revolution in Georgia. And they will not stop. So a battle has been won. NGOs that receive 20% of their financing from foreign states will now have to register as foreign agents, very similar to the laws on the books in the United States, the FARA Act. There is a similar law in Russia. I believe there is a similar law in Hungary, or they are drafting a similar law in Hungary. The European Union is drafting a similar law, or already has a similar law in place. I believe they're drafting something identical to this foreign agents law that is now law in Georgia. But the collective West they're going to continue to go after you, Georgia Dream. This is one battle that has been won. The war is far from over. There are going to be elections in Georgia, and you better believe it that the collective West, they are going to try and get a Maidan moment in Tbilisi. Absolutely going to happen. So this is not the end of this story. Let's do some clown worlds, and we will wrap this video up. So Estonia, they are saying that it is time to bring Russia to its knees. The Estonian president said that Estonia will do everything possible to bring Russia to its knees. President Alar Karis said, after this, it will be possible to begin negotiations on ending the war in Ukraine. The president of Estonia, in the same statement, also said that the collective West is going to have to deal with many Putins many Putins by the time it finally gets Russia to its knees. It's going to have to go through many Putins. That is what the president of Estonia said. But eventually he's confident that they're going to get there. They're going to bring Russia to its knees. Estonia will bring Russia to its knees. And Maria Zakharova, she replied to this statement from the president of Estonia. And I believe Zakharova, she said something along the lines of, how are you going to do this? Do tell. Do tell. How do you plan on bringing Russia to its knees? We would like to know. That's Estonia. We're not done, though. We are not done because Prime Minister Kaja Kallas, she told the Swedish newspaper Svenska Dagbladet that the Russian government, the Russian president, tried to prevent her from becoming the Secretary General of NATO. Kaja Kallas, to Swedish newspaper, Putin wanted to prevent me from becoming the Secretary General of NATO. That is what she told a Swedish newspaper. And she looks very upset about the fact that Russia sabotaged her chances of becoming Secretary General. Now it looks like that job is going to go to the Netherlands' Mark Rutte or Romania's Klaus Johannes. Johannes. Very Romanian name there. Klaus Johannes. Anyway, Romania is building a really big NATO base. I think the biggest NATO base is being built in Romania. So that's got to count for something. Everyone is saying that the job's going to go to Klaus Schwab's favorite son, Mark Rutte. But I don't know. Don't count Johannes out. He is building a very, very big NATO base. Anyway, Kaja Kallas is very mad, very upset with Putin and with Russia. Upset with the Putin and Russia. Don't mean any disrespect. But they sabotaged her chances of becoming NATO Secretary General. I believe Kaja Kallas. I absolutely believe Kaja Kallas in this instance. Because I know as a fact that if there is one collective West leader, one person, one country, one military that the Russian Federation, that the people of Russia absolutely fear, I'm talking really, really afraid of, really scared of, it is Kaja Kallas, and it is the Estonian military that can bring Russia to its knees, that plans to bring Russia to its knees. I know that Putin is very, very afraid of Kaja Kallas. I know that Medvedev, very, very afraid of Kaja Kallas. Zakharova, Maria Zakharova, is very, very afraid of Kaja Kallas. She is a formidable, competent, capable opponent to Putin and his administration. Let's do a final clown world. And Elensky, we go back to Elensky. He is now saying, get this. Elensky is saying that the collective West, they gave Putin permission to attack Ukraine. That is what Elensky is suggesting. That they were all in on it. The collective West, Russia, Putin, Biden, Putin. They were all in on it. And they're the ones that gave Putin the permission to attack Ukraine. Quite a conspiracy theory from Elensky. Putin had permission from the West to attack Ukraine, suggesting that Ukraine was betrayed by the West. Wow. Wow. That is something, huh? What is Elensky smoking these days, man? What are you smoking? Yesterday, you were saying that it's the victim that decides the terms of a surrender and of a peace agreement. It is the victim that decides the terms, and now Elensky is suggesting that Putin had permission from the West to attack Ukraine. I think what Elensky is trying to say that it was the West's inaction that emboldened Putin, right? That is what Elensky is trying to say, but still, whatever Elensky is doing in Kiev, it must really affect the mind. Oh boy. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X, and go to the Duran shop. Use the code GetReady15 and get 15% off all merch. Take care.